For the first time ever, it is McDavid versus Bedard, but there's so much more to this game as the Oilers seek an 8th straight victory. We get you set for Edmonton and Chicago right here on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Tom Gazzola with you on the EST YouTube channel as well. If you're listening on the TuneIn app, we appreciate you, or on our EST audio stream. Thank you very, very much. As always, we highly recommend that you join the conversation, 780-218-9999, or via the nasty chat if you're watching on the EST YouTube channel. Along for the ride tonight, the one and only Matthew Owanek holding things down back at EST HQ, in for YouTube Trev, who, Owanek, he's just getting the night off, right? He's not ill or anything, nothing going through the station.
Yeah, no, he's just getting a night off, and
he'll
also then have to be in the mornings where I do not have to then be in for the early morning.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. So YouTube Trev gets to watch the game tonight, but then gets the early wake up. Owanek gets to work tonight, and then gets a little bit of rest in the morning. All right, will things continue to be fruitful for the Edmonton Oilers? You would think, with the way these two teams are playing right now, the answer would be yes. Edmonton now 12-12-1 with this 7-game heater. Meanwhile, the Blackhawks 9-17-1, and they've dropped their last 6 road games. So it's been a tough go for Chicago. Obviously, a team that's been retooling, have dealt with a ton of injuries. The Corey Perry situation a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that tonight, the Blackhawks will have 4 rookie defensemen in the lineup. I know Matt Kassian, who's going to be joining us around 7:15 for Game Changers, wants to emphasize that in one of his 3 points on Game Changers. Yeah, Matty, I don't know how much you guys talked about it today on the Hangout, and then 2 guys and a goalie, but this is a grade A opportunity for the Edmonton Oilers to make it 8 in a row. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, if they don't make it 8 in a row, it's actually a big disappointment because of just who they are going up against.
Yeah.
I know the boys talked about that quite a bit, 2 guys and a goalie on the morning show. We didn't get into that as much on the Hangout. We looked more towards, and I know they got into 2 guys as well, is that this game is just after 8 o'clock our time here, which is just after 10 o'clock Eastern,
right,
when you've got Connor versus Connor for the first time. And that's the mistake that the National Hockey League just made in all of our eyes, is that this game's not earlier. But when it comes to this team and the Oilers and extending this winning streak, there's no other way to look at this than, we should be talking about 8 in a row after all this. If they're not, they really let 2 points slip by, because there's no reason that, especially the way the Edmonton Oilers are playing, they should fall to this lineup of the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, going into the season, we'd say just straight up losing to the Blackhawks, no. But this lineup that the Blackhawks also have with their injuries and everything, all the rookies, you need to have this win. There's no other way about it.
Don't mess around. Exactly. Yeah, this is one where you got to stomp on them early. I know that the Hawks will put up a fight. They do have some good players. They're missing some of their better veteran players, and we're going to get into that right away in the lineups and all of that. But need is a great way to put it, and you can't let off the gas against the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. Edmonton 8-4-1 on home ice. The Blackhawks 5-7-1. That's their home record. Their road record 4-10, and like I mentioned, they've dropped their last 6 on the road. And yes, as Matty alluded to and the boys discussed earlier in the day, a 10 p.m. Eastern time start on ESPN. And then it's a regional game here. So I don't know. I don't have the answers. And the NHL continues to baffle us with its decision-making. But here we are. We're here together, and it's all good. And even though it's a bit of a later one, we'll get through it together. And that just means maybe one less soda during the game. Maybe go to bed shortly after. But we hope you join us for the post-game show as well. One other thing I do want to get to, and it's NHL related. It was they sent the email out an hour ago in regard to the All-Star Skills Competition. It's got a new format. Maddie, I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm going to read it. It's different. It's a $1 million winner-take-all prize for the skills competition. So that's new. The details are this. It's a revamped format for the NHL All-Star Skills. It'll feature 12 All-Stars competing for points in 8 events, with the NHL All-Star who accumulates the most points taking home a prize of $1 million US. Each player will compete in 4 of the first 6 events listed below, earning points for their respective finish in each event. 1. Fastenal, fastest skater. Rogers NHL hardest shot is the second one. Third one, Upper Deck NHL stick handling. Fourth one, NHL one-timers. Fifth one, NHL passing challenge. Sixth, Cheetos NHL accuracy shooting. And then the top 8 point earners advance to the 7th and 8th event of the All-Star Skills Competition. The 7th event is the NHL Shootout. The 8th and final event is the Pepsi NHL Obstacle Course. Each player will choose which goalie they shoot against. Following the Honda NHL Shootout, the top 6 point earners will advance to the 8th and final event, the Pepsi NHL Obstacle Course, where the point totals are doubled. Matthew, I mean, you are great at doing deep dives on stuff like this. I know that's a lot to process, but a winner take all $1 million. What about the goalies? What do they get in all of this? It sounds like a rough ride for them.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance. Maybe a goalie wants to compete, be a forward and compete in all this.
Maybe.
Look, to me, the skills competition is always the best part of All-Star Weekend. I'll watch a skills competition any day over the exhibition that we get for 3-on-3. If this is going to motivate 12 guys to really show up and try to do some stuff, I'm okay with it. I'm okay seeing how it plays out. I never thought of the goaltending part of this, that they're kind of screwed out, without a chance at $1 million.
Right?
They have no chance to give out anything. But beyond that, for the forwards, well, also you would think this tends to lead more towards forwards, not defense. Well, maybe there's some defenders. I don't know. If it gets us watching the skills a little bit better, I'm all for that in the end, because I don't know. The game doesn't matter, but I've always enjoyed the skills competition and seeing what the guys can do with their skills. So I'll take this one with I'd like to watch it and see how it plays out and see if that $1 million really gets 12 guys going hard at trying to show their skills.
It's interesting because I heard Connor McDavid had some input into building this. And yeah, I mean, when you got $1 million dangling in front of you, I would be pretty motivated. And there has to be some compensation for the guys that don't win and the goalies who are taking part. The Wolf says, yeah, what about the goalies? Yeah, I know. I think of the goalies. Somebody please think of the goalies. Anyway, that is the new format for the skills competition that the league announced. And they put that out about an hour ago, sending it out via media or their email. And then I'm sure they posted it on their Twitter page or X account or whatever the heck we're calling it these days. All right. Back to what we're focusing on, and that is the Oilers and the Blackhawks. Edmonton looking for that 8th straight victory. They have been excellent of late, winning games in different ways, and they got it done the other night against the New Jersey Devils, a solid 4-1 win. Convincing, yeah, I could call it convincing, but I think it was a solid 4-1 victory. So now they get a weaker Chicago Blackhawks group coming in here. Like we mentioned, 4 rookies on the blue line for the Hawks. And can the Oilers take advantage? Sean texts in via the text line, says, Amber Alert, it's a trap game. Well, hopefully not, Sean. Hopefully not. But we'll see what kind of fireworks Connor Bedard might have in this one. And that leads us to our question of the night. Hit us up via the inbox, 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. How good will Connor Bedard become in his NHL career? Is he going to be a 1,000-point guy? Is he going to be a 1,500-point guy? Will he ascend to Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby type levels? You tell me. That's the first time we get to see him in Edmonton as an NHLer. Obviously, we've had the opportunity and good fortune to see him as a Regina Pat. And then some of us got to see him at Rogers Place as a member of Team Canada's World Junior squad a few times. And now we get to see him in his Blackhawks debut in Edmonton. Maddie, one more time to you. How good do you think Connor Bedard will be in his NHL career?
Yeah, I'm never going to say someone's going to be Connor McDavid because that's a pretty lofty goal. And there's a reason you only get the McDavid. Like, even to a degree, I think when we look back on his career, we're going to see McDavid being better than Crosby in terms of personal abilities and things.
Yeah.
Cup success, all of that, that's a different conversation. In terms of actual, like, the talent and all that, I think we're going to see that Connor McDavid will have been even, the separation between him and Sidney Crosby. So McDavid is just so unique. So I won't say that Connor Bedard's going to be Connor McDavid. Truthfully, I don't think there will have been a McDavid since Gretzky or Lemieux. I think it was those two. The next would have been McDavid. But I could see Bedard having that Sidney Crosby type career, maybe just a little bit lower than Sidney. So like being one of the best players in hockey for a number of years. I absolutely see that coming. But he's not going to be the best player in hockey because Connor McDavid's still got to play for another 10 years or so. So until McDavid is basically done, I think, he'll just be considered one of the best players and an elite superstar of this league. What about you?
I think he's going to be somewhere in the 1,500 point range, and I think he's going to be successful for a long time. I mean, the commitment to fitness is pretty impressive. I don't know if I buy the whole not eating fast food ever in his life. Maybe that is true, but I think just his prowess and his mind for the game, on top of what he's been able to build physically as a young man. He's 18. He is small. They have him listed at 5'10". He is not 5'10". He's a couple inches shorter than me, and I'm 5'11". Probably just over 5'11", and I'm looking down on him. I'm like, this kid's not 5'10".
Well, maybe he should have had some fast food in his life.
Maybe some of that HGH would have gone a long way, right? Now that all the hormones are in our food.
Live a little, dude. Live a little.
Live a little. Have a quarter pounder. Go to Popeyes.
If there's one person out there who could probably afford to have a burger here or there, it would be pro athletes.
Right.
I think you can afford that if you're especially at his age.
Yeah.
I don't think the one burger is going to set him off to becoming Ben Stiller at the end of Dodgeball.
Oh, that's touche. And wasn't Ben Stiller in Heavyweights as well? Remember that movie?
I actually don't.
I think Ben Stiller might have been in that one.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Okay, see? I knew it. But Bedard, I could see being like a 1,500 point guy, just being a really solid player for a good 15 years. He's got 23 points in 27 games, obviously on a Blackhawks team that is struggling. So I think he's going to have a prolonged career. Does he help elevate the Blackhawks to a Stanley Cup contender at some point? Maybe. They're going to have to build the team around him, but we know that they're only a couple months into the process. So absolutely could happen, but give it some time. And Bedard already impressing and wowing. That backhand pass he made the other night against Washington was a thing of beauty watching that game. And so I think, a 1,500 point guy that's going to wow us for a long time. And probably get himself into some deep runs in the postseason. And let's see what happens. But today, in this game, McDavid versus Bedard, you got a 26-year-old going up against an 18-year-old. This is a man versus a kid, basically. And so it's like when Crosby faced McDavid for the first time. It was Sid had been around for a long time. He's a man. McDavid was just a kid. As brilliant as McDavid was in his rookie year or his first couple of years, but he was still a kid. He was 18, 19. And Crosby was, mid to late 20s at that point. So that's what we're going to see tonight, but it is cool to see. And then the funny part, we'll hear about it and see it later, is McDavid's response to, does he give advice? Does he impart wisdom? I'll save that for later on in the show, but it was kind of funny. And then vice versa, we heard from Bedard, who has spent some time around McDavid and Draisaitl. I think it was at BioSteel camp talking about them. We'll hear that too later on in the show. By the way, McDavid 14 points back of 900 in his career, so it won't be long before we're talking about him achieving another milestone in his NHL career. All right. Question of the night one more time. Text us 780-218-9999 or hit us up via the nasty chat. How good will Connor Bedard become in his NHL career? And I'm looking to see, Maddie, do you see any texts coming in already in regard to that?
Don't see anything. Just pulling it up fully here.
I got one here from South Sask Jason. Says, unfortunately for him, he's too short. He will be a great player, but it hurts him. That's from Jason the pharmacist, who wants that to be his new handle. And then also added, Vancouver probably hoping he wants to come home. someday. Probably, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Chicago's a wonderful place to play, despite all the turmoil that has happened of late. I'm gonna change Jason's
Oh, you're
handle
doing it?
to.
I was about to do that too.
Oh, were you already doing it? Oh, okay, well, there, Jason the pharmacist. Any other ones via the nasty chat? The Wolf says, "Will Bouchard beat Coffey's point streak? And if he does, what does Coffey say to Bouch when he gets to the bench?" Funny answers. That's what the Wolf wants to hear. I don't know if he'll get there. I don't. The Oilers have some tough games coming up, but this streak that he's on is unbelievable right now. Coffey did it in 28 games, and I think Bouchard's now at 11, if I'm not mistaken. Dave says, "Let's go, boys. I'll be at Connor versus Connor Part 2 in Chicago, January 9th. I can't wait. These two teams lock horns again and wrap up the season series a couple weeks after that here in Edmonton on the 25th. So first of 3 meetings tonight as the Oilers and the Blackhawks, Connor versus Connor, get going. And question of the night, how good will Connor Bedard become in his NHL career? Let us know. We want to hear from you. Let's go into starting lineups, and then we'll go inside the Oilers locker room. And then Cass will join us just after 7:15 p.m. What we are anticipating, and if anything changes, we'll get that to you as the show rolls on and the teams hit the ice for warm-up. But it seems like it'll be status quo for the Oil. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl between Kane and Brown. Can Connor Brown get off the schneid? He did score the other night, but it was disallowed. Vander Kane interference, maybe a soft call, but a right call. And Connor Brown had a post 2 games ago, then he scored, but had it disallowed. Will tonight be his night? Maybe. McLeod between Fogle and Janmark, and then James Hamblin, who's been effective. And so has Derek Ryan and Sam Gagner. That line getting things going the other day for the Oilers. We'll see if there's any changes. I don't think that Ernie gets in, but we'll see. If that is the case, we will pass that along during warm-up. On defense, no changes expected. Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, who continues to maintain that red-hot streak. Kulak with Desharnais, and then that means Holloway remains on the IR with the lower body issue. No Ernie, no Gleason anticipated tonight. As for the Chicago Blackhawks, here's what we are expecting. Again, if anything changes, we'll pass that along your way. Connor Bedard between Anthony Beauvillier and Philip Kurashev. Cole Gutman with Tyler Johnson and Taylor Radish. Jason Dickinson between Nick Foligno and Joey Anderson. Mackenzie Entwistle between Lucas Reichel and Ryan Donato. Then on defense, here's where the rookies come in. Owanek, let me know if you recognize any of these names. There might be a couple, but the rest, I'm sure you're going, I don't know that guy. Philip Roos with Connor Murphy. Isaac Phillips with Nikita Zaitsev. And then Alex Vlasic with Louis Crevier. Crevier is like 6'8".
I know 2 of those names.
Yeah, Zaitsev and Murphy, right?
Yep. Nailed them.
Yeah. So outside of that, it's like, who's that? And that's totally fair. Cass will go into it because this is who's out for the Blackhawks. Taylor Hall, IR, knee. Seth Jones, day-to-day. Jammed up, as Luke Richardson said. So he did not make the trip. Kevin Korchinski, IR, personal. Jared Tenorti, IR, concussion. And Andreas Athanasiou, IR, groin. That brings us to starting goalies for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 10-7-1 with a .303 goals against average, .887 save percentage, and 1 shutout in 19 games this season. Skinner versus the Blackhawks, 2-0 record, 3.0 goals against average, .893 save percentage in those 2 appearances that he's faced Chicago. And then at the other end of the rink, 31-year-old Peter Mrazek getting the nod for the Hawks. He is 7-8 on the season, with a .303 goals against average and a .912 save percentage with 1 shutout in the 16 games he's played this year. Mrazek versus Edmonton over the course of his career, a 3-3 mark with a .315 goals against average, .894 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in the 7 appearances versus the Oilers over the course of his career. All right, 780-218-9999. See what's going on in the nasty chat. VR Montenegro says that's an AHL squad faux show. VR Montenegro, yes, I agree. Someone asking if Patrick Eves is in tonight, and then they deleted that. Steve also saying, who the expletive are those guys? Yeah, that is true. And then Corb77 says, I could see Bush scoring again tonight on the power play. His shot has been dialed in lately. Yes, it has been. Absolutely. And then the text line here. This one says, evening, fellas. Do you think Broberg, Campbell, and a first, maybe another mid-level prospect or a third, fourth rounder for Gudas from Anaheim is realistic? Thanks. The playbook. That's a steep price to pay. That is super steep for Radko Gudas. Ooh. Maddie, what say you?
What was the price again?
Broberg, Campbell, and a first. Maybe another mid-level prospect or third or fourth rounder for Radko Gudas from Anaheim. And then the playbook says, is that realistic? That's a lot to give up.
Well, to get rid of Campbell's contract, it's going to take a lot to give it up.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you're another team with the Edmonton Oilers, you're looking at that and going, you're going to keep going, what else? What else? Until the Oilers, like, you have the advantage in that situation when the Oilers are trying to get rid of Campbell.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. You would hope that the return would be more than Radko Gudas. I guess that's.
But you're also getting cap.
You're getting cap. You're getting rid of a burden in the Campbell contract.
That's the thing. You have to value the cap space as an asset.
That's a good point. That's why I knew I'd bounce that one off of you. So you're paying to get the cap, and you get a player in return. You give up a kid with potential in Broberg, who I believe scored a nice goal, going hard to the net. And then, juicing it up with a mid-level prospect and a first rounder. That still, it feels like a lot. But I understand and recognize what you mean by that, Matty. I do. I get it.
But that's like, it's, you either pay that price now to try to then also give yourself a little bit of room at the deadline to do something.
Yes.
Or you save the move with Campbell till the summer and try to figure out something else then. But it's it's a tough spot that the Edmonton Oilers are in with this. And the flip side is he comes up here and wins a few hockey games, and all of a sudden you don't need to move on from him necessarily right away, and he's helping this team. But I think that's less likely.
Yeah, touche. Good point. Good point. Keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. This one says, something a lot of analytics in hockey miss is the fact that in scientific terms, models predict and explain reality. If your model goes against reality, it's not a good model. That was from earlier in the day. And then this one from Eden says, tell that to Nate McKinnon. So that's in regard to what, Eden? That has to be with the question of the night, right? I would assume.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Nate McKinnon is something along the lines of like when we're discussing Connor and Crosby and where Bedard could be, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, good point. I guess McKinnon gets overlooked at times too, right?
He's a top player in the game to me. I'll never. He's like, I look at the Avs and go, you got him and Makar. You're kind of in that Oilers position where you've got two of the top players in the game.
Yeah.
They've just found a way to find that Stanley Cup victory.
This is true. This is true. Eden, now I know what you're saying. I get it. All right. Awanik, what do you say we go into the coach's room and hear from Chris Knobloch?
Let's talk about Connor versus Connor. Of course, you have the best player in the world on your team, Connor Bedard, another generational talent. What is your kind of takeaway heading into this matchup between two very special players?
I think it's very exciting for everybody who's got a ticket tonight to watch the game, anyone's at home and watching the game, to see two exceptional players. One who's been obviously in the league for a while and doing exceptional things, and the other one who's just coming up and having a great season. I think it's very, very exciting to watch. And, myself, I'm behind the bench. I'll be enjoying it too, and hopefully I don't get distracted too much with all the nice plays, and I'll see what's going on with the 5-on-5 and how our team's playing. But, yeah, I think it's a great night for hockey.
Stuart Skinner can become the first goaltender this season in the NHL to win 7 consecutive games. Of course, he was off to a start much slower than he anticipated. What have you seen in his processes to kind of get out of that funk?
Well, I think when I started, I think one message that we had for our team was just, that we can all help each other out. And our forwards, back checking and coming back a little bit harder for our defense helps them out with their gaps, and they can stand the line up a little bit. And if our defense are playing a little better and have a little more structure, it's going to help with our goaltending. And I think Skinner's been one of the guys who've been playing very well. But I think we've had a lot more structure. His game has been a lot more predictable. We have had breakdowns, absolutely. We've had breakdowns, but that's where we need our goalie to come up with those key saves. And I think both our guys have done that. And, when you're playing with more structure, more predictability, it's easier for the goalie to see the game, and it helps with his confidence.
Sorry, last question from me. Is Evander Kane available for you tonight?
Yes, he'll be playing tonight.
Okay, thank you.
When you first got here, one of the things you maybe assumed or sensed in your group was that when some bad things happened, there was a bit of a sag or a, here we go again. They seem to be in that deep of a hole. What are you noticing now in game when bad things happen? I think of those 2 quick goals against. What are you seeing from your group in their resilience?
Yeah, I think guys just, they know that they just have to find their game and come back to the way they were playing. And every team is going to have a push, and they're going to have a little strong part of the game where they're the better team. But ultimately, we feel that if we play our game for 60 minutes, we should come out on top. And, I've seen it a couple times just the other night when we had an outstanding first period. 1 minute into the second period, we're down 2-1. That could be a time when the team gets off the rails and not playing the way you want to, getting off script, and taking chances that are unnecessary. But another one is the game in Winnipeg, where we trailed most of that game, or up until maybe 10 minutes left. I'm not sure when it was when we got that goal from Nurse. But first 2 periods, thought it was pretty good. We just couldn't score. We just have to stick with it, believe with what we're doing is going to, we're going to get the result in the long run. And I think guys are patient now with their game, and will execute the game plan.
On Bedard, he comes into the league with that shot. Everybody knows it's kind of the signature way he has of letting it go, how dangerous it can be. But how impressive is it that the great players in the game, despite everybody knowing what their tricks are, they still find a way to execute? And so far, he has. Everybody knows that shot's there, and he still gets it off and is scoring.
Yeah, no, it's just not as simple as saying he's got a really good shot. There's a lot of players who have really good shots, and they just can't find a way to get it through. He has a skill of unbelievable release, great velocity, accuracy, all of it. But there's a lot of other skills that he has, where his patience on finding the open lane, whether it's underneath a stick or between the defenseman's legs, holding it, really good at getting the middle ice. There's one thing about getting a shot outside the dots, but if you can get that shot inside the dots, your shooting percentage goes up tremendously. He's found a way to do that. So, yeah, especially our defenseman tonight, on the penalty kill, a defenseman who's going to be on that strong side. He's got a task for himself tonight to get into those into that shooting lane.
The last 2 games against New Jersey and Minnesota, for long stretches, you gave up very little. I know that was an emphasis for you, but to see it as a coach and to see it when your team's winning, sometimes in long winning streaks, the team will sag a little bit, but you haven't seen that. What's impressed you just about the attention to detail in limiting the chances lately?
Well, I think we're not in position to let anything slide away from us. Right now we're not in a playoff spot. We're chasing numerous teams to get into that spot, and when we're having a good game, we can't let that slide and slip away from us, because they're so important, those 2 points. So I think it's easy for us to maintain focus. It'd be one thing if we were sitting on top of the standings and yeah, we can take tonight off. We can not pick up our check. We'll see what happens. But we don't have that luxury right now.
No, they don't. Not at 12-12-1, digging themselves out of a really deep hole, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Cost one coach their head or his job, and then now Chris Knobloch has come in, and he's kind of helped steady the ship to his credit, as well as the players, I think, waking up and starting to execute better. But yeah, that's right. No bad habits. Take advantage of a Hawks team that is struggling, especially on the road. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, 6 in a row they've dropped on the road. They're coming off a loss on Sunday to the Washington Capitals. They're down to defensemen on their back end, 4 of them that are rookies. And Nikita Zaitsev and Connor Murphy are their veteran blue liners tonight. And so this is one where the Oilers have to be all over them. So if you go back to those bad habits, then as Sean texted in earlier on the show, you end up in a trap game, and you end up talking about what the heck happened, and you end up back below 500. I know the Oilers did have an overtime loss, but they are 12-12-1 now with this 7-game winning streak. So let's see if the Oilers can maintain the consistent level of play, the high level of play, regardless of the opponent. They've done a good job of winning games in different manners over this last couple of weeks, and if they continue that today, and we don't have to be talking about some bad habits and TV turns and not picking up checks like Chris Knobloch discussed there, then I think everything should be fine. And we're talking about an 8th consecutive victory. All right, let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. This time, let's hear from one of the Connors, McDavid. We'll hear from Bedard later. Let's go to Connor McDavid now.
All of the things that you've maybe rediscovered as a group, what do you think has breathed the most life into your game?
Well, a lot of things. Obviously when you start as poorly as we did, there's a lot of things wrong. And, I would say penalty kill's been great. Goaltending's been great. The overall defensive play has been better, giving us a chance to win games.
Do you remember what it was like the first time some of the guys you looked up to and kind of understand what that looks and feels like for guys?
Yeah, I was excited. It was exciting for me to play against Sid, and I remember even my first one against Ovi, skating around and seeing the big number 8 on the other side. It was, a dream come true.
You spent some time with Connor Bedard in the offseason, I believe, doing some training. What impressed you the most about him being on the ice with him?
Well, obviously his shot is really, really what jumps off. But I was impressed just how smart he was, how skilled he is, how good he is with the puck. I mean, anytime you're like you're a player of his stature, you're going to have a lot of different skills, and he's got all the tools in the toolbox.
He's going through something that you went through in your rookie year in terms of just, a lot of attention and that sort of thing. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him, but what advice would you give a player like that?
I'll answer this question for the 1,000th time. There's not much advice that goes on around the league. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He knows what he's doing. He's got a good group of guys on the other side to help him if he ever needs it, and he seems like he's handling everything well.
One of the impressive things is that he comes in with a lot of talk about his shots. Everybody knows he's going to look to get that shot off, yet he's still been able to consistently do it even though everyone's looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what great players do. Obviously, you know it's coming. Like Ovechkin, his shot's coming, but here he is chasing down 800 some odd goals. So the great players can do that, and obviously he's one of those guys.
Last year and even at the start of this year, guys talked about you wanted to improve defensively. That was a big focus. Well, during this streak, like especially this past weekend, those are maybe 2 of the best games as far as limiting the opposition to quality chances. What's led to that? What's been the key for you guys to really reduce the shots against and the high danger against?
There's a lot of things that go into it. I think our track gap has been really good. We've been good at denying entry. I think our D-men have been breaking the puck out really well. And when your D-men break the puck out well, along with your forwards, but when your D-men break the puck out well, it's you don't spend much time in your D zone, and that helps a lot. That's half the battle right there.
Connor, did you, when you were going through this stuff, did you get much advice from anyone, or are you more the type of person that maybe like the other Connor to just kind of live it, and that's kind of the best experience you can get is just by doing that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of advice that's being thrown around in the league. There's guys talk about a lot of different situations, but not necessarily advice. For me, it was just being around the group in Edmonton. I was very fortunate to have a guy like Halsey in Edmonton, and I think Ebbs as well. A guy like Matt Hendricks, just a veteran presence, and those guys just made it real easy for me.
And the Easy Media Group too was real kind to you.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, the oil media group, taking it easy on me.
Yes, when you're the best player in the world, people generally take it easy on you. But of course, it isn't always a smooth ride, and there have been some bumps along the way and some turbulence with our media group and the players. But there's a lot of passion around here. But it is funny to hear him say that there's not a lot of advice being dished out, and he doesn't really go about handing out advice. And he jokingly said, for the 1,000th time, I don't really give advice, but if he's asked, I'm sure he'll talk to a kid or a young player coming up. But I guess he doesn't solicit it to be one of the gurus, if you will, and is distributing his wisdom to all the young and up and coming superstars in the National Hockey League, like a young Connor Bedard. Okay, we're going to go inside the Oilers locker room one more time and hear from netminder Stuart Skinner, who is getting the nod, putting his 2-0 record against the Hawks on the line tonight.
Very much. Talk about, obviously, Bedard coming through. I don't know how much you've seen of him or pre-scouting you're doing, but just talk about facing him and the hype around him.
Yeah, really excited. Obviously, he's a special player. He knows how to score. He knows how to shoot the puck. But I think he also knows how to make good plays, too. So definitely somebody who we're all going to respect tonight, as we're going to respect the whole team over there. They're a good hockey team, and they know how to play well, and they know how to win games. So it'll be a good matchup.
He seems to be, the way he shoots the puck, the way he kind of changes position with it, the velocity. How unique or different is that maybe from the way most guys do it?
Yeah, I think you see it a lot more now than ever. I think everybody has the capability and skills to do that. Obviously, he knows how to do it at a very elite level. But I've played against Ovechkin, I've played against Matthews, I've played against guys who know how to shoot the puck, know how to score. And this is another guy who knows how to do that. So somebody who I'm really excited to, another guy, hopefully at the end of the night I can say I stopped. So.
Because you haven't faced them before, do you spend any extra time like watching video of him before tonight's game just to, take a look at a couple details, how he shoots the puck, that sort of thing?
Definitely a little bit on him, but I would say you're kind of looking at the whole team, the whole aspect of it, especially their power play. They got a good power play. So, like I said, everyone over there is somebody who you got to respect. Everyone knows how to play well. Everyone knows how to score. Obviously, for him coming into the NHL for his first year, he's a very special player. So, when you see his number out there, he's out there. But yeah, it's an exciting matchup for tonight, and it'll be good.
Stuart, there's another Connor you come up with every day in practice. I'd imagine that if anything's going to get you ready for some young phenom, that's
exactly. Especially, guys on our team know how to rip it. I mean, especially in practice, there's a lot of grade A's that happen in practice. So, it's good practice for me to work on my capabilities on being able to stop the puck. So, going against Chicago, going against Bedard, it'll be a good test for myself personally and also for our team.
Does the hype make any difference to you?
No, it shouldn't anyways. There might be a little bit of nerves, you kind of watch them coming down, but I'm sure that's the same for everybody. I had the same nerves when Ovechkin shot on me the first time, and it's pretty cool seeing all these guys, how great of shots they have, how skilled they are. So just another person that I get to play and get to enjoy.
I I know if I were to ask you about your play, you would credit the team in front of you first. So maybe to twist it up a little bit, what are some of the things that you have done to refill the confidence tank after maybe what you consider a tough start?
Yeah, I think for myself, just being able to stay the course. I think being able to stick with it in terms of your game, sometimes it won't go well, sometimes it will go well, and maybe there's not a ton to change, maybe there is, but just being able to stay the course, trust the process, work on your game every single day. It's kind of the name of the game, is just, getting better.
So when your team is playing tighter and better defense, in what ways does that make like a goalie's life easier?
I mean, of course, it'll make a goalie's life easier in the sense that maybe less grade A's, just tighter D, maybe the guys are blocking more shots. I know for our case, a big help has been the PK, and I've been saying it, every single day, just how incredible the guys have been working on the PK. And I truly believe that's what's really helping us win games right now, especially just special teams in general. Our power play's been doing really well, but when the guys are doing their job in front, of course it helps me, but at the same time, that's what I'm there for, is when breakdowns happen, that it's my job to stop the puck, right? So definitely goes both ways. And win games, you got to have both going.
All right, there's Stuart Skinner talking about the special teams, which have been excellent for the Oilers of late. I'll just rattle off the PK numbers of late: 4 for 4, 2 for 2, 2 for 2, 2 for 3, 5 for 5, 3 for 3, 5 for 5, 5 for 5, 3 for 4, 2 for 4. So that was a tough night. 5 for 5, 3 for 3, 2 for 3, 2 for 2. And then before that, I think we're going back to the 11th game of the season. That's where they were super leaky. But in the last, dozen games or so, that penalty kill has been way, way better. And it's done a good enough job to climb into the middle of the pack in the NHL. It's 17th in the league. And at one point, we were talking about it being sub 70%. It is now 17th at 80%. And the penalty killers have chipped in with 3 shorties. And then on top of that, the power play has started to pick it up again. Not that it was ever bad, but it wasn't the 32, 33% we saw last season, the record historic highs that the team was clicking at last year. But now it's at 27.6%, 24 for 87 so far this year. That's 4th in the NHL. And then on the flip side of things, the Blackhawks come into this one 9 for 88 on the power play, clipping at a 10.2% rate. That's 29th. And then the PK for the Hawks, 77%, sitting 21st with 1 shorthanded goal scored. So the Oilers power play, if you're curious to know how it's been doing lately, 1 for 3, 2 for 4, 0 for 1, 1 for 2, 1 for 3, 2 for 6, 3 for 4, 1 for 4. And then there was a little stretch there where it had a couple of offers. But in general, it's been pretty good. And then that penalty kill, they're executing really, really well, like Stuart Skinner pointed out. Also, I forgot to mention this. I like the Matt Hendricks shout out that Connor McDavid gave earlier in his interview, because Matt Hendricks was an absolute beauty of a guy, great presence in the locker room, just a true pro, and a pleasure to deal with. So I like that reference from Connor McDavid, giving Matt Hendricks a bit of a shout out there. This text from Tyler says, "Good evening, Tommy. It's Tyler here. I feel both Connors are going to have a very fun evening sharing their skills on the ice, but 97 will not let 98 steal his barn tonight." Tyler, I could see that happening as well. And if we see some magic from both of them, that would be absolutely tremendous. Worth the price of admission. I know some of those tickets are pretty darn steep, but I could see both Connors trying to pop off. And I think one guy, the young guy in Bedard, wants to have a big showing on the national spotlight in the U.S. against the guy, the king, the guy who's reigning supreme right now in Connor McDavid. How long till McDavid takes over the NHL scoring lead, right? He's making his march, and he's going to catch Kucherov at some point. So, yeah, I could see those guys both having big games, because it's, the current king against the guy that wants to be the next up-and-comer. And so I think who wins in all of this? Us, the fans of the game. So, Tyler, appreciate the text. And hopefully we see some magic from both of those gentlemen tonight. All right, 780-218-9999 if you want to text us, or if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel, which Awanik and I were just talking about, has gotten to 6.2K subscribers, which we appreciate. Thank you so much for hopping on board and being a part of this ride on EST. If you haven't yet, smash that thumbs up button if you're watching. We really appreciate that, playing that old algorithm game. And keep the nasty chat going. I see there's a bit of a conversation amongst yourselves, which is always great. And Wanik and I will dip into that, as will Matt Kassian as well, when Cass pops by in a few minutes. So he should be on his way shortly, actually. But Cass will be by with Game Changers. I did want to get to some out-of-town scores as well, because there are 10 games in the National Hockey League tonight. So let's go take a look at what's going on thus far in the NHL, this being one of the late games, Edmonton and Chicago, 8-10 face-off. Another one of those late games on a Tuesday, which is odd, but we'll just have to roll through it together. In New York at MSG, the Toronto Maple Leafs lead the New York Rangers 5-3, just under 10 minutes left to play there. Carolina's up 4-1 on Ottawa, so maybe that players meeting after their losses on the Pacific Division road trip, or the Pacific Division leg of this road trip that they're on, helped. That game is also midway through the third period. Pittsburgh up 3-2 on Arizona, 11 minutes left in the third there. St. Louis up 4-3 on Detroit in St. Louis after 2. And then you got the Oilers and the Hawks. And then also Seattle welcomes Florida. Vancouver welcomes Tampa. We will be seeing those two teams coming in to close out this Oilers 6-game homestand the rest of the week. And then Vegas is hosting Calgary, and San Jose in the late game welcomes Winnipeg to town. Tough one for Kyle Connor there. He's going to be out, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks was what the announcement was. Knee injury. Did you see that one? Did you see that one, Maddie, where I think it was Ryan Strome clipped him with his knee? It was pretty bad. So
I actually didn't see it.
Yeah, it wasn't good. But yeah, so Stromer caught Kyle Connor, and that's going to be a big loss for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll see how they handle a little added adversity without Kyle Connor for up to potentially 8 weeks. All right, Matty Kassian looks like he is ready to rock and roll. Let's bring in Cass, our game analyst, as we get set for Game Changers with Matt Kassian, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton, and of course, among RE/MAX realtors. He and his team love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out on DamonBunting.com or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Matt Kassian, hello, sir. How are you? We were just talking about the Kyle Connor thing, and I don't know if you caught the Kyle Connor, Ryan Strome knee-on-knee collision that looks like it's going to cost Connor upwards of 8 weeks. If you did catch it, what are your thoughts? If not, all good, my friend.
Yeah, no, it didn't look great. That sucks for the Winnipeg Jets. If you're a Jets fan, that absolutely smarts. Too bad that he is hurt for a significant period of time. You hear 6 to 8 weeks. It's fortunate, really. It could have been longer. I mean, it didn't look pretty. I don't think it was, Strome wasn't being absolutely malicious. But yeah, it's just, if anything, it's just unfortunate, and it's really going to sting. The Winnipeg Jets finally playing like everyone in Winnipeg wants them to play, finally having that success that they've been looking for the last couple of years. And, one of your best trigger guys gets busted up. It sucks.
Yeah, totally sucks. So they'll have to deal with Kyle Connor being out. But tonight it is Connor versus Connor, McDavid versus Bedard. And that's number one, Cass, on Game Changers. It's the Connors.
The much anticipated by everyone in Edmonton first meeting of the two of them, apparently known in the NHL as ever considered or thought that this may at some point happen, and considered or thought that, hey, it'd be good to put this one in a good marquee time and have it somewhere in Chicago where they could watch this and make a big deal out of it and advertise. Apparently that was all, a bad idea to want to do that. So we get the late gate with it. But listen, you got we'll call it an absolute generational talent in Connor McDavid, best player in the world. going up against a player that is, I don't think at the level of Connor McDavid in terms of even his upward, trajectory and what he's going to be capable of doing, but he's still really, really good. First overall pick, scored a bunch of goals so far, has done some really good things, and is going to be a fun player to watch for a lot of years. Again, I don't think the ceiling is nearly as high as it is for Connor McDavid, but certainly he's going to be a very, very good player in the NHL for a long time, and pretty fun for both of those guys to come together, for, Connor Bedard to be playing against Connor McDavid, and for Connor McDavid to, kind of shove it back at him and say, who do you think you are, kid? I'm still the best in the world.
I asked, and that was kind of the question of the night too, was how good do you think Connor Bedard will be over the course of his career? Cass, I think he could still be a 1,500 point guy, and his team
still 1,500 point guy.
I think so.
Okay.
I think like he could be a point a game guy, and if he stays healthy, like he could be right up there. And that, I know that's lofty, but I think 1,000. I think 1,000 for sure. And then, if things really go for a few years, definitely 1,500. Like, did we not just see Ovechkin hit 1,500 and he lost an entire season to a lockout, and he lost another, I think, 40 games in 2012, 2013, and then another 30 games due to COVID. And so he's still clipping all right. So I think Bedard could push to.
Ovi's also done that without really major injuries.
True.
And like potting 50 goals a year. Like, pretty tough to do. I don't know. I don't know if his ceiling is that high. Now, could it be? It could be. It'd be great if it was. Like, if he can turn out to be that kind of a player, hey, I love watching players like that. Like, it's a blast. It's so fun. Even if they're not on your team, it's so fun to watch players have that kind of success, and just to see the special things that people can do. And I hope that's Connor Bedard. I don't. And I've said this before, and it'll take us a couple of years to figure it out. So I could eat my words completely on this, possibly. I still wonder if he's closer to his ceiling already. Like really? Connor McDavid, we knew there was more.
Yeah.
We knew there was more. I don't know how much more there is with Connor Bedard. Like McDavid, from a size standpoint, from a physical maturity standpoint, when you would go and look at him, you would see McDavid at the combine. You seen him after the first couple of years. It's like he's finally grown into a fully developed grown man's body. Connor McDavid has. Connor Bedard, it looks like that already. Like he can't put on 10 pounds of muscle like McDavid could put on to be able to be a little bit more physical. He can't add 5 pounds of muscle in each leg to try to be more explosive, because then he'll get too bulky. Like he's already filled out and thick. And so I just wonder, and I could be wrong. I could be very, very wrong. So it's not like this isn't something I'm certain of, but I just wonder, like, that 1,000 point mark, I don't know, because I don't know how much more there is. Now, where he's at right now is still one of, an absolutely fantastic, amazing player. So, to say that he'd get somewhere between 800 and 1,000, I think that's fair. That's totally fair to say that's a reasonable expectation. But Tommy, I don't know about that 1,400 number you just threw at me.
Oh, I said 15. I went even
50.
higher. I just think he's solid, and if he can stay. And you're right about the height. He's not even 5'10", Cass. They have him listed at 5'10". I'm looking down at him. I'm like, he's not 5'10".
No.
And then 185, yeah, maybe, but I don't know.
He's probably probably 170, 175, 5'9".
Yeah. Yeah, because they exaggerate in these things. But
you always exaggerate for those guys. I don't know why, because it doesn't matter.
No.
But they always do.
It's just like, he's not 5'10". Like, I'm looking way down at him. Like, that's not. Anyway, whatever. It is lofty, and I think I'm hopeful for Bedard, because I was wowed by him in the World Juniors. Obviously, we saw what he did in the WHL, and for a smaller guy, like, I think he's good at handling adversity. So if he does have a really solid career, and I think he does get to 1,000. So maybe I'm being a little bit more positive about it, or hopeful in terms of his point totals if his career goes well. And I mean, it's off to a good start if he could stay healthy, like you said, He is not Alex Ovechkin, who is a tank of a human being, by the way.
Yep.
That is a big human being. And he has stayed healthy. So we'll see, but I'm optimistic. Let's go to number 2 on Game Changers. Matt Kassian, Tom Gazzola, and Matthew Iwanek with you on the Oil Stream pregame show. Number 1 was the Connors. Number 2, Cass. This one, Iwanek and I kind of teased a bit. The decimated defense.
The decimated defense, man. The Chicago Blackhawks are without a lot on the back end. They are without a lot on the back end. Looks like Seth Jones not going to be playing tonight. Absolutely crushing, especially against a team that needs someone that can skate against Connor McDavid. That's I don't want to say it's soul crushing, Tommy, but it's kind of soul crushing. Like if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, really, really, really difficult for that. Up front you have Taylor Hall. That's not a defenseman, I know, but he's banged up. Kevin Korchinski, who's a wonderful young player. I was actually really looking forward to watching him play. But he's put on the IR now. It's for personal reasons. Hopefully everything's going okay with him. He's a Saskatoon kid, so hopefully that's all okay. Tenardi has a concussion. Anthony Sio, another forward, is out of the lineup. Like you're banged up, and this defense was pretty thin already for the Chicago Blackhawks. Like there's not a lot there right now. And some people instantly start saying it's a trap game. Well, it kind of could be, especially with Seth Jones out of the lineup. Like all of a sudden, there's not really anybody. Like, have you gone through their whole lineup yet, Tommy?
Yeah, I went through once, but it's like Philip Roos on the
Connor
back
Murphy,
end.
and I love Murph. He's a fantastic human, like great guy. My short time with Arizona, we roomed together, so we had fun.
Philip Roos, Isaac Phillips, Alex Vlasic, and Louis Crevier are in action tonight. That's the 4 guys.
Should that scare you if you're the Edmonton Oilers? No, not at all. Now, the trap game mindset could scare you a little bit, and that you want the Edmonton Oilers to be ready to go against this and to be ready to play against it. But man, that defense is oof right now for the Chicago Blackhawks, and you have to be chomping at the bit if you're the Edmonton Oilers. Not thinking that it's going to be an easy game, but saying there is an opportunity here, if we play well, to absolutely just decimate these guys. And I hope that's what the Edmonton Oilers come out of the gate with, because that blue line for Chicago looks a little or very suspect.
If you didn't catch it earlier, Philip Roos with Connor Murphy, Isaac Phillips with Nikita Zaitsev, and then Alex Vlasic with Louis Crevier. No Seth Jones. I believe Luke Richardson, when I was in the scrum today, said he didn't make the trip day to day. He was jammed up. You talked about Korchinski, Jared Tenorti. They also, forward-wise, Taylor Hall and Andreas Athanasiou not playing for those Blackhawks tonight. All right, let's go to number 3 on Game Changers. Number 1 was the Connors. Number 2, the decimated defense. Number 3, Cass, the overall approach.
Touched on it already, but taking that mindset of not just taking a game for granted here again, because if the Edmonton Oilers play like 3/4 of the team that they've been the last 7 games, they should win this game and win it quite handily. The longer you let the Chicago Blackhawks around in this one, if you let Chicago have a great start, if you let them work into this game, if you let them feel like they have a sliver of hope at all, it's going to get tougher and tougher as the game goes on to actually take over the game and control the game. The approach right from the start of the game needs to be that same approach they took against Vegas, which is from the drop of the puck, we are not giving you a sniff. Needs to be the approach that they had against Carolina. From the drop of the puck, we are not giving you a sniff. You have to bring the mentality of no matter what you do, no matter how good you think you play, you are not going to beat us. And we're just going to outskate you. We're going to outwork you. We're going to outshoot you. We're going to outblock you. We're going to outhit you. We're going to outbattle you. We're going to outpass you. Like just go down the list and think that you're not going to do any of this against us.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to beat you in every single one of these areas. The more you can do that, the earlier you can do that against a young team that is banged up with injuries and has players missing from the lineup, you're just giving them reason on the road to fold. They're not playing at home here. A lot tougher to do that against teams at home, even young ones, in front of their own crowd. On the road, 8:00 game. Everyone in Chicago is at home sleeping. Like when the puck drops, like give them every reason you can right from the hop to quit, and you might see it a little bit from this group. Like it's a group that could be more susceptible to that. Now on the flip side, it's also a group that maybe doesn't understand. I don't want to say the gravity of the situation, because it's not a gravity situation for the Chicago Blackhawks,
Right.
but they might just not know better. Right. Like, and that's the thing with sometimes younger upstart teams is like, they might not just know that they're way worse or should be way worse than the Edmonton Oilers. And so maybe they just play loose and carefree, and they're able just to go out and do whatever because everyone's expecting them to lose, which is possible. But yeah, for the Oilers, just approach it like you're going to squash them, and not just kind of like assuming it's going to happen. Like just make it happen. Just go out just go out and do it.
Sean earlier via the inbox texted in and said, Amber Alert, it's a trap game. I that's one that comes up. Like we've talked about trap games in years past. And if we're talking about TV turns and not back checking and stuff like that, maybe the Oilers get trapped in it. But like you said, Cass, with the way things are going and the lack of experience on the back end of the Blackhawks, like I would be pretty damn surprised if this didn't go the Oilers' way.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're going to lose, they have to have played bad. Like you've had to make some major mistakes. But Tommy, we've seen it happen against the San Jose Sharks.
I know.
And I do hate the word trap game, but I understand the sentiment towards using that phrase, because sometimes it's just like, yeah, you're big man on campus going in, right? I don't need to study for my test. Right? Who reads a textbook going into an exam? I just go and I do it. Like,
sounds familiar.
That can happen. Right. It happens. It happens to people in that. Yeah, I got this one nailed. I don't need to study for it.
Yeah.
Like you something you think you have pegged. You think you got it nailed. You think you're gonna just breeze through it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I wasn't actually prepared for that, and it absolutely crushed me. Like that's what happens. So I don't know if I next to call them. They're not a trap game, but they are situations where you need to go the extra mile to make sure that you're prepared for them.
780-218-9999. It is Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite, right here on the Oil Stream pregame show. And this text comes in from Ken. Evening, Tom and Matt. Would it be more appropriate to call tonight the Battle of the Connors, as in McDavid and Brown versus Bedard and Murphy? That's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but yes, I get it. Also, compliments to Matt's rant this morning on two guys on the cult of the analytics. Bravo, sir. You have given me a perspective that I never thought of before. Regards, Ken. Do you want to give us the Coles notes on what you teed off on?
All right, I won't, because it'll take me too long to go through all of it.
I know.
But I'll give you the Coles note. Coles notes version is there are a lot of people in analytics that love analytics, and I'm not talking ones that work for teams that's their job, working for teams doing it, but a lot of fan people with analytics. It's a cult. That's what it boils down to. It is 100% a cult, from the charismatic leader that you have at the start of the movement to like isolating and expelling individuals you don't like, that don't line up with exactly what you believe. You're like shaming people because they believe something different, and how dare they disagree with you. Like you go down every single thing, tick, 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 time consuming, the time involved in it. Like every single thing, it's a cult. Yeah. No, not people that use it responsibly, because there's a way to use use analytics responsibly, but people that just so it was in reference to discussion from it was not Wild Evolved, Wild Evolution Hockey, I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
Something hockey. They do analytics, and Dusty read it, and they had for your rookie of the year for the NHL right now, who's in the running for the Calder. Connor Bedard wasn't on the list.
Okay.
Using analytics. Zach Hyman was second in the NHL, ranked most likely to get the Hart Trophy, using analytics.
He's having a very good year, but
he's not. So that's what started the discussion. Is it like you can't just use one side of your brain on it.
Right.
On the flip side, you can't just only watch. Like, you need to use statistics. Analytics can be helpful.
Yes.
It helps build a picture. Like, you can't get any far on one side of it. But my typically most people that are like, well, I like watching and seeing and understanding from visually what I'm seeing. Most of those people usually are like, yeah, but then throw me the statistics because it helps me understand it a little bit better. People that are like on the analytics side of it, it's like, no, you can't. What, you tell me you've used the eye test? You use the eye. I'm getting fired up. But Tommy, you shouldn't have brought
I'm
this up.
sorry.
You use the eye test? Like, how could you use the eye? What do you mean you use the eye test to evaluate your players? Like, give me a freaking break. Give me
You
a
can
break.
use
Like,
both.
you got to use both. You have to use
Yes.
both. But don't tell me the second that any analytics site publishes that, it says, look at our models, look what we got. Your models are garbage. Your models are garbage. Or what you're using them. Maybe I shouldn't say the models are garbage. What you're using the models for is absolute garbage.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
your way of
That's a better way to
interpreting the
describe
data
it.
is absolute garbage. Watch some video, then look at your numbers, then watch some more video. You do that, and then tell me if you think Zach Hyman is still number 2 in the league in Hart Trophy voting. And that's not saying Zach Hyman's bad or had a bad season. He's had an
He's having a great year.
a great year.
Yeah.
Great year. And that's me not me saying he's not an incredibly important part of this team. But you want to tell me he's more valuable to your team than Connor McDavid? Give your head a shake. You want to tell me that Connor Bedard isn't in the running for the Calder at all? Not even like, he's not first. Luke Hughes was first in that. I'm like, okay, that one I get.
Sure. Okay.
You can
He's
make
having
an
a great
argument.
year.
Great.
Yeah.
But Connor Bedard's not even on the list. Not even on the list for consideration.
He's 7 points up on Luke Hughes, Marco Rossi, and Adam Fantilli in the points race among all rookies, with games in hand on most of or on Fantilli, but then Hughes
on a bad team.
And on a bad team. So
yeah, no, it just completely destroys any credibility they had for anything, in my opinion. And second to that is just like, again, it just further emphasizes me. It's a cult. It is a cult. It brainwashes people. It sucks them in. It makes them abandon reason. It makes them get like disassociate with people that are probably good for them. And I said on Two Guys and a Goalie, and I'll say it here again. I hope if that's you and you're getting angry at what I'm saying and you're feeling offended by what I'm saying, you need to check yourself, because you're probably in a cult. Like, if your feelings are hurt by what I'm saying right now, you are probably in a cult. And I hope there's people that love you and that care for you, that you probably have shut out for just using the eye test and not wanting to hear about your analytics, not listening to you preach about it. I hope that you let them back into your life and you listen to them and you let them give you hugs and you let them just pull you out of that cult, just let them pull you out of it, bring you out of it, because it's a cult.
Jason in Leduc, Maddie.
You should have brought this up, Tom.
Renato says Matt was on fuego. VR Montenegro says, here, Cass. And then Joaquin Gage, Hyman for Hart or H for H.
And also Joaquin Gage, and Loki gets the Emmy.
Renato also adds, Matt Fuego is your new nickname, Mr. Kassian. I love it. Bring in the heat. Cass, you're a hot tamale tonight, and I love it, my friend. Great stuff as always. Enjoy the game. We'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Thanks, buddy. I you know what? We'll see how this one goes. If the Oilers win, I'll probably be like happy and really, really tired, and I won't make much sense. If the Oilers lose, I'm probably going to be really upset, and it could go. I don't know what would happen in that case. So let's hope for a good Oilers win and a solid one, Tommy, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Have your war charts ready for postgame.
No, it's not just war. It's war and Gar and don't even get. We're done.
Okay.
We're done.
I'll see you, Cass. There you go, Matty Kassian, our game analyst with Game Changers, and a nice rant at the end on going all in on analytics as opposed to having some balance, which generally is the right thing to do in a lot of aspects of life, not just how you view hockey. Game Changers is always brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Okay, as we calm down and let the cooler heads prevail. Actually, I enjoyed all of that, to be honest with you. Let's go and hear from the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's start with that other Connor Bedard. He spoke to us earlier in the day. Let's hear from the young rookie phenom who does lead all rookies in points right now.
Talk about the other Connor. Well, you guys going head to head. What's your mindset as you play against McDavid, a guy you would have watched a lot when you were younger too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either of us would see it as individual head to head. It's our teams going at it, and for me, obviously watching him the past, I guess, 8 years in the NHL and following him, of course, like any hockey fan before that, and just what he's been able to do is just remarkable. So getting to see it up close here tonight and go against it should be a lot of fun.
A little bit of time spent with him in the summer. Did you take anything out of that? What did you see from him in the offseason that impressed you?
Yeah, just how he approaches every day and how hard he works, how driven he is to get better and win. And I think that was great for me. I was with him and Leon, and I feel like half the Oilers team was kind of training in the same spot, so it was funny. But so I got to be with a lot of those guys. But yeah, those two obviously, approach the game in such a great way, and it's good to see that on a daily basis.
Do you think it was good for you right out of the gate the way you did, kind of head-to-head there with Sid, and just to get something like that happening right away? There's going to be a few moments like that for you through the year, but it just kind of happened right away.
Yeah, it was cool for me. Obviously, kind of childhood idol, and I get to go against him the first night. It was pretty special, but I think every night you're going in, you can pick a few players on each team or whatnot that you're pretty excited to play. But going against him game one was pretty cool.
You're seeing a lot of these teams for the first time, all of them for the first time. How much homework do you do on the guys that'll be defending you? Like, would you take a close look at the Oilers blue line tonight and study up a little, just given you haven't faced these guys before?
I don't know. I think just I'm someone I like to watch hockey, and Oilers are an exciting team to watch, and obviously one of the best teams in the league, and just with the guys they have, you always try to tune in when they're playing. So you see some stuff, but I don't know, nothing too crazy.
You're not the only rookie on this team. Do you guys talk, like, does Foligno or Luke or anyone talk about not being in awe of some of these players that you go up against, whether it's Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid?
Yeah, a little, I guess, but I think it's kind of a given. I think maybe like in a warm up and stuff, look over and take it in there, and then once the game starts, it's hockey, and you're trying to beat them, obviously. But it's special for us going against guys like this, and I think you can't take it for granted, but you can't go out there and be starstruck when he's coming down on you.
When you get a chance to be around a guy like McDavid, are you somebody who seeks out advice or anything, or are you more just kind of watching and learning by how he handles himself, how he plays, that sort of thing?
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, I don't want to annoy him too much, but if I can throw a couple questions in there, and he was great with me this summer. He was always kind of giving me little things, and it was really cool to see such a nice, humble guy, and it was pretty cool for me to get to spend some time with him. But I think just try to watch him and see what he does that maybe kind of separates him.
How many Oilers games would you say you've watched?
I have no clue. I just kind of.
If they're on, you'll just.
If they're on, yeah, I'll tune in, and obviously playoffs last few years and everything. So fun team to watch, and obviously they got some players that can do some crazy things on a nightly basis.
Yeah, you come in here at a time of the year where they've really found their game. They're 7 in a row here and playing well. Maybe just a thought on the challenge, because I know you guys have some injuries and you're a little banged up. Like, tall order, but good challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny the first 10 games of the year. Everyone was freaking out, but they've been one of the best teams in the league for 3-4 years now. So I mean, I don't think it's to anyone's surprise that they're doing what they're doing now. I mean, I think maybe 7-8 in a row or whatever they're at right now. So we know coming in how good they are, and so we're excited for that challenge, and yeah.
All right, there's young Connor Bedard leading all rookies in scoring with 23 points so far this season. The next cluster of rookies behind him, including Luke Hughes and Adam Fantilli, 7 points behind him. Marco Rossi in that group as well. So Bedard, a 7-point cushion on the rookie scoring lead. All right, let's hear from Blackhawks head coach Luke Richardson, the former Oiler.
No, he stayed back. He just got jammed up late in the third period, and we're just going to get further evaluation before he meets up with us, whether it be on this trip or at home.
So he could theoretically meet you in Seattle.
Yeah, I doubt it. Probably won't be on the trip, but you can always have some hope.
Is it upper or lower?
Yeah, upper body.
Really quick, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
As far as the lineup tonight?
Well, we have Philip Ruse in, and he'll be playing tonight, obviously, for Seth. Peter will be starting, and I think that we have also Donato's back from illness, and Reese Johnson will be out.
no Jones, no Korchinski. This is a very tall order for this young defense. Like, what do you tell them?
That's a good way to put it. Tall order, because they're all tall. But you know what? Play on the inside. Special teams, meaning penalty kill and 5-on-5. We want to make sure we play the inside out. Some dangerous players on that team, and we just got to make sure puck management's going to be a key for us tonight to try and keep it out of their hands as much as possible.
Kachuk on waivers, I think he cleared. Is he going to go to Rockford, and what's the logic behind that?
Yeah, that's the plan. I think he just wasn't playing a whole lot, and for a guy like that, he needs to skate and play in the games, and that's what Rockford's there for. And definitely he was disappointed, but we personally think it's the best thing for him right now.
How would you say that Bedard is sort of handling the city-to-city first-year tour, where there's obviously going to be lots of attention? There will be here today. What do you see from him in handling all of that comes with being him?
Yeah, I think he's had some really good training in that area, just being with the World Juniors the last few years, and obviously his team has really prepared him well. He's a very humble, quiet guy off the ice, and handles his attention very well. And he just wants to get back out there and play. That's his whole focus. So, he does his responsibility that he has, and he knows what it is, being a high-profile player and pick. And he's doing a great job with that and balancing it. And seems like he's fresh every time he goes on the ice. So that's a good sign.
We sense from him as a competitor, like somebody that wants to win, used to winning, and when you're not winning, kind of how he deals with that, even though he's new in the league.
Yeah, and you know what? We're in a transition in our organization. We're working our way up, and there is times of frustration because you want to win. That's the key. Every player on our team wants to win first, and it's disappointing at the end of games. But you know what? The good thing, I think Connor's mature in that area where he doesn't drag it into the next game. He's fresh and he lets it go, and he's ready for the next shift or the next game.
How have you sensed him? There's a few marquee players in the league. He's gone up against a few of them. What have you seen from him on those nights, and tonight will be one of those nights? Yeah, absolutely. I think, right from day one, we got Sidney Crosby, and then we go into Boston, and then we go into Vegas, and then Colorado. It was the first trip of the year. That it was, and Toronto with, Matthews and Tavares and everybody. I think, he's hit him right from day one, and, tonight's a great challenge for us as a team, but also a good measuring stick, for Connor just to see another great Connor, which I think he trains with, just to see how he conducts himself in the game, and you can kind of pull from these great players that you're playing against, not just trying to stop them.
The Kachuk seems to be kind of a vote of confidence in Joey Anderson. He's obviously played really well these past few weeks. I guess, do you see him as a part of this moving forward at this point? Yeah, right now I think that line is kind of like our staple right now of how we want to play. We want to play simple, but we want to play hard and right every shift, and that's why they start every game, because they give us a good start. And Joey's part of that line, and he fits in well. He's a smart hockey player, and with a couple of roster moves that we've had to make this year, it gave us some room to bring him back up and use him, because we liked him at the end of last year. But we had some veteran guys and some new young guys there at the beginning of the year that just kind of forced that roster move to make sure he was playing, not sitting on the sidelines. So when he did come up, he was firing on all cylinders, and we benefited from that.
There's Blackhawks head coach Luke Richardson as his team prepares to take on the Edmonton Oilers. 780-218-9999 if you want to send in a text. I see Cass is still going strong in the nasty chat. Leave him alone. Leave Cass alone. I feel bad, Cass. I'm sorry I brought up the rant that was in a text, but I could see Cass is still laughing, so he's enjoying the back and forth in the nasty chat. All right, let's take a look really quick at what's going on around the National Hockey League right now. Awanik, how would you describe Cass and the interactions he's having right now?
I would say D-Man is just playing right into what Cass is doing. Cass is just throwing that line in there and just reeling back all these fish. Like, he's just having a great time, and he's just D-Man's biting all over the place, and Cass is just having a good time there, and just I still see it. He's smiling. He's having a good time, Cass. He's enjoyed that entire thing, so.
Thumbs up. Yeah, there he is. I see him. Oh, I love it. Nothing like an 8 o'clock game on a Tuesday night to get people going in a little analytics chat. But nasty chat. It's nasty for a reason. So I'm enjoying it. Dennis says, solidarity. Here, 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 here. All right. Let's go around the league as there are 10 games on the sched tonight. These ones in the books already. The New York Rangers fall to the Toronto Maple Leafs at MSG, 7-3, the final there. Carolina 4, Ottawa 1. And there was a fun, I thought, interaction between Pyotr Kochkov and Brady Tkachuk on a penalty shot, I think it was. And Kochkov just went in and poke checked, not the puck, but Brady Tkachuk's skate. And they kind of had words, and Kochkov points up at the scoreboard, and sure enough, Carolina with the 4-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators. So if you haven't seen it, it's on X. Sportsnet has it on their page. They just posted it. Other games to pass along your way in terms of results. Pittsburgh doubles up on Arizona 4-2. Someone texted in earlier, said, hey, look, Pittsburgh scored on the power play. Hey, good job, Pittsburgh. Detroit leads St. Louis 5-4, 13 minutes left in the third. After 2 in Nashville, 2-1. The Preds lead the Flyers. You got Edmonton hosting Chicago. That's coming up in about 15 minutes. And then Seattle welcomes the Florida Panthers. We'll see the Florida Panthers later this week here in Edmonton. And then Vancouver hosts Tampa. We'll also see Tampa here later this week as the 2 Florida teams will come to town to close out this 6-game homestand that the Oilers are on. Vegas welcomes in the Calgary Flames. And then the late game, believe it or not, there is a later game than the one we're going to be watching between the Oilers and the Hawks. San Jose has the Winnipeg Jets without Kyle Connor in tow. He's out with a knee injury for up to 8 weeks. The Jets will look for a win despite one of their best players at the Shark Tank in San Jose. Let's see what's going on in the nasty chat. VR Montenegro says Cass dropping the nasty language. Latin is the devil's tongue. Penner's Pancakes, Tommy just laughing at this chat. Yes, I find it highly amusing and entertaining. And Awanik, how would you describe the nasty chat? Because to me, it's its own little beast.
Today or little. Just in general?
In general, like what it has
its own community.
Into. Yeah.
It's there to comment on what we're saying. It's there to be part of this conversation, but also to have its own conversations on the side.
Right.
And it can be a little weird sometimes when you look over to read something, you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. We were not talking anything like that. And then you go through it and I'm like, oh, that's because people had their own conversation and it just sidetracked. So it's been a way for, at 1260, we had our text line that only we can see and we can interact with our listeners. This is a way for us to interact with our listeners, but also our listeners to interact with each other. So it's its own little world that's a part of this, which I know talking to a lot of people that have come pick up their Nasty Club packages and stuff, they love it because they can now have these conversations with other listeners, but also see what others are saying and laugh at what we would laugh at without sometimes being able to read it on the air.
That's true. That is true. We do get some interesting texts that do come in. Spruce Grove Corey had a couple earlier. I see you. I see you, Spruce Grove Corey. Appreciate it. Hey, Taylor Blayways says 10 p.m. in Indiana. These late games should be a crime. Hello, Taylor, all the way from Indiana. Appreciate it. And then Penner's Pancakes also adds, it has evolved into its own entity. Yeah, that's true. Andrea says, long live the nasty chat. It's alive, says Jason. And we really, really appreciate it as we get you set for the Oilers and the Blackhawks. First of 3 meetings this season. Edmonton has been playing against Chicago well in recent years because the Hawks have not been a particularly great team. Edmonton is, what are they now? They've won 3 in a row against Chicago. All-time 35, 31-2 at home with 5 ties against the Blackhawks. They are 63, 67-5 with 12 ties all-time home and away versus Chicago, and 5-4-1 is the record versus the Blackhawks in the last 10 meetings between these two clubs. The Oilers this year, 3-1 versus Central Division teams. Meanwhile, Chicago, a 3-1 record versus Pacific Division teams. But the Oilers are the club that's coming in here on a hot streak. Chicago has lost 6 road games in a row and does have a 4-10 mark. Away from United Center, the Oilers 8-4-1 at home this season and are rolling really nicely. They've won 7 straight home games. So, Matty, a really good opportunity for the Oilers to make it 8 in a row in general and then 8 in a row at home, which would be welcomed with open arms in Oil Country for sure. Any final thoughts from you today?
They better win. It's that simple. Like the trap game, all that. Don't care. We should be talking about 8 after tonight. Otherwise, you really screwed up as a team. Get through 8 and let's focus on Tampa.
Get it done. I like that. Awanik, great job filling in for Trev as always. Big thank you to Matty Kassian. A big thank you to everyone who watched and listened. Smash that thumbs up button on the EST YouTube channel. And if you're not already subscribed, please do that. We just hit 6.2K subscribers on YouTube. So let's keep this bad boy going as we build it up further and further and further. For Awanik and Cass, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thanks for tuning into the Oil Stream pregame show. We'll see you after the Oilers and Blackhawks on the postgame show. Ciao for now.